Hello and welcome back to the Crud Duds play Enderal. This is part 3. Sorry there's been a slight delay in these episodes, but we had a technical problem where the audio of the last two pieces we recorded was simply lost. So that's a shame.
What a
quite
shame.
Annoying. Neil came around and got up to this section of the game. It's quite far on, but no audio. Can't put it up, so I'm gonna have to redo this. But it's not a problem. It's a quite fun section of the game. Last time we played, we had just come from the abandoned temple area after being thrown out of a boat of some kind, strapped to a dead body. Vision. Oh, this machine. Why does it seem so familiar? I don't know that this is necessarily a machine. It doesn't look like a machine. I guess this could be a machine, but I wouldn't have reached the assumption it's a machine. My conclusion would have been this is some sort of fancy sculpture, but probably familiar because we saw it in a vision. Or a hallucination when we were unconscious at the bottom of the sea. Don't go away. Doesn't appear to be any enemies in here. I'm just aware that I've been through here before, so this is an ice claw. Fantastic. You found an ice claw. Ice claws, listed in your inventory under consumables, permanently raise your carry weight by 1 point when eaten. So, well, I'm a bit of a loot goblin, so that means I'm going to be eating an awful lot of ice claws. I hope they don't have any addictive effects, because otherwise, well, where is it? Can't wait a moment longer without ice claws. Brilliant. I'll be going for a lot of those. I don't remember there being anything in here, but you know, it's nice to have a look around and take in the environment. Big tubes leading up to who knows where. That's interesting. But other than that, doesn't appear to be anything in here. Okay. So it makes you wonder if this is like an ancient temple. What's this? Why is this sort of dank mine shaft here? To drain the water? Is it meant to be full of water? Let's loot all the mud morals. For no reason other than compulsive looting. That's how I play these games. Stuff in the terrain. Health potion. Pickaxe. More mud morals. Oh, human flesh. Delightful. Well, if you remember from the intro, it may be the case that we come from a family of cannibals, so delicious. Actually, this is just like Skyrim, so you have to taste each one of these once to determine their properties, which includes human flesh, which has a poison damage. How nice. Body count target wolf blood and come. Yeah, because you can actually be a werewolf if you so choose. Maybe I shall at some point. We'll have to see later. When we go down the route. I'm thinking of going down the route of collecting all the souls. There's like a thing that's called Phantasmist, and I think you collect the souls first, turn them into. My health is very low. Probably because I just poisoned myself. Gives you arcane fever. Now, you can regenerate your health naturally just by eating food. How good a job does that do? It's not much, but it's better than getting the night fever, Saturday night fever, the jungle fever. It lifts up the wheel, which was a wonderful revelation to me when I first played through this, but been through it. Oh, and I got a magic from up there. Let's see. Let's look at what that actually does. Boom. It does the cast 6 points per second. It worsens your arcane fever by 0.5. The worsening of this fever can be lessened by the perk Mental Expert. So it seems like healing magic gives you this arcane fever which you then have to deal with. So it's sort of like a soft cap on shortly lowers the mana cost of your spell. That's good. So it's sort of soft capture ability to just use the heal, or just use loads and loads of healing potions in combat, which is good, because that made Skyrim a little bit too easy. There he is. He killed me the last time I took him on. Not this time. Buddy, oh pal. Arrow to the face. And a second. And a third. And now I gotta run away. Magic. Unlimited power! So I must eat a mana potion. Power! Do it! Do it! Okay. I have become the Senate. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, custom way, maybe a bit. Killed me the first time, not the second time. Oh yeah. Okay. What have we got? So, mana fungus. Makes sense we're having visions when you consider that we're basically eating quite a lot of mushrooms. I mean, I have been told some of them have hallucinogenic properties. Okay. Nice gem. Nice. I'm not sure I'd eat corpse bread, but yeah, you know. I don't know how long I've been washed up on this beach. Maybe I'm really hungry. And corpse bread is exactly what I'm looking for. Also, I'm possibly from a family of cannibals, so there is that. The Sun Coast. If the difficulty level master is too easy for you, you can change it to Iron Path. Be warned, only the most experienced adventurers should take that challenge. I remember you have powers from Skyrim. Let's have a look at this stunning vista. They've done a good job in this mod pack, haven't they? I mean, look at this. Look at that. Water effects, new texture packs. I think they've improved the view distance. A little bit of music. It's very nice. It really is. And I'll take a moment more to appreciate it, but I want to get on with it. Grabbing more loot. Can't help it. Can't be helped. What's this? Oh, collect pump. Well, I'm already doing that. So, quest completed. Well, let's have a little look. It's got a very ancient Greek style to this place. At least I think that's the style, sort of white marble, lots of pillars and columns. I was just hearing earlier that our most famous and wonderful podcaster Joe Rogan may be hosting a presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now, that would be something fantastic, because that guy is one of the best interviewers I've ever seen. He's brilliant. He really gets people to sort of open up and tell them, I'll take some scrap metal, and tell people what's going on in their heads, and he gets them really to explain it. He's very disarming to his guests. It's really good. I think he's a brilliant podcaster. And it would get so many views. I mean, it would dwarf any of the major networks by a huge margin. So that is something I would love to see, so if they intend to do it. But maybe they won't, because, you know, politics is about more human flesh. Lovely. I mean, I hope there's no customs department. You go to a customs department and check your bag, and it's packed with human flesh and mushrooms. Let's increase my mana. So I'm using quite a bit of magic. I mean, it's unfortunate. What are you carrying in here? What are all these potions and bottles? Is that human flesh? Yes! I carry a great deal of human flesh. Step around the trap and... Goodbye! You think taking fat out of a troll would be more complex than just opening his inventory? Like you'd have to engage in some, shall we say, butchery and then distilling it down into something that you can use. This. Got that, but we'll have another one. Staff of Flames, that'll come in handy. I'm sure. Health potion. Bone purse. Old vagrant dress. Doesn't look like a dress, but fair enough. More magic spells. Let's see, what have we got? Detect life. Make creatures, undead exempted, in the area visible and can be used through walls. Okay, so you can see through walls to detect life. Flame Blind. A gout of fire that does 6 points of fire damage per second. Targets on fire take extra damage. Nice. Unleash a sonic wave onto humans and creatures, which does 3 points of damage and 2 points of additional damage for mesmerized creatures and pushes them back. The strength of the push depends on your psionics. So this is my Fuchs Rodar ability to knock bandits off of very high places. Summons a ghostly wolf, level 4, to fight for you for 90 seconds. That gets me a pet doggo. Let's put on these clothes because I think I'm just wearing rags or something. And I'm wearing an old robe. The old robe is more valuable and has exactly the same armour as the old vagrant dress. Well, in that case, let's drop this rubbish on the floor and stick with our robe, because this is good. And it's lighter. Just injured by the physics there. Nothing to worry about. Avoid the trap. Old sword. 4 points of damage, weight 6. What am I actually using? 4, 4, 12 versus 4, 6, 11. My one's better. So carry on. Yeah, it's a shame about the earlier recording. I mean, we had a lot of very entertaining discussions about all sorts of things, everything from the Second World War to the First World War, and Winston Churchill and so on. That's it. See, I knew that was a bad dog. In case you wish to accuse me of animal cruelty, I was fully aware that was a bad doggo because I remember playing this before and being mauled by him. Shoes. So got that one. Let's just check. I did not. Let's add some delicious wolf meat. Don't think wolf meat's... I mean, I guess Koreans eat dog meat, so I guess it can't be that bad, but... I've heard eating predators is bad because you can get all kinds of extra diseases. Because obviously diseases tend to accumulate in predators more often because they eat a lot of animals, and any diseases or illnesses the animals may have had, or any poisons or toxins. This is like DDT, how it builds up in the food chain. You kill off a few mosquitoes, but all the creatures that eat those mosquitoes get the DDT inside them, and then all the ones that, because they eat hundreds of mosquitoes, and then the creatures that eat those creatures get an even stronger build-up, so it sort of accumulates. It's called bioaccumulation. It's very dangerous. And that may be why eating the meat of wolves would be a mistake. Let's see. Is it? I'm sure there's another way. See, look. I knew it. Bonus area with extra pumpkins. Oh well, we do like collecting pumpkins and mushrooms. And there appears to be another room in this forgotten temple. Let's find out what's in here. The secrets of a lost civilization? Very possibly. It also seems like, if this was a real lost temple, or part of an ancient collapsed civilization. Just looting there. You would expect it to be a lot less intact. I mean, the Colosseum, for example, was half sort of demolished. It's half demolished because after the sort of fall of Rome, a lot of those buildings were basically looted over time. People would want to build something, so they'd go over to the Colosseum, which is no longer in use because they can't afford to do all the big fancy games in the circus, and they tear bits out of it and use it to build other buildings. And you can see this in a lot of the later buildings, like pieces of ancient Roman sculpture used as basically bricks, mortar for stuff. It's a little sad to see because you know whatever it was taken from was probably something really beautiful, but now it's just a brick in a wall as opposed to some incredible piece of architectural wonder. But you know, people who were living at the time were obviously more in need of getting building materials for their buildings, and they could just respect history because they actually had to live. Just get as many of these as possible. I don't know what they do. It's probably pointless in picking them up, but worst comes to worst, I can sell them at the first town I come across. I see. Oops, good. That's right, ratto. You don't stand a chance. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I mean that happens all the time. People would cut away from it. That's why a great deal of the Great Wall is no longer there. I mean, it used to extend all the way across the border, but now only parts of it remain. But well, and also the fact that parts of it were built on, shall we say, not exactly firm foundations, and it was built in a big hurry because they were very scared of the Mongols, which was entirely correct to be scared of them because the Mongols were terrors of their day. Everyone knew who they were. I mean, they're literally the most, Genghis Khan was the most famous person in medieval history because everyone was utterly terrified that they would just storm over and kill them. I mean, they killed so many people. They'd take entire cities and then behead everyone in the city and make a huge pile of skulls outside. Very scary. And then they'd go to the next city and be like, well, you can surrender, or you can let's bring you over to this city and show you what happens to the last person who fought against this. When that happens, people are very quick to say, you know what, we surrender. And the Mongols were very brutal in terms of how they ruled people. They ruled with a sort of iron fist, constantly testing people for loyalty to see just how far they could push things. What you definitely call a sort of terrible operation. Yeah, I'll stick with the lightning. It might not be as efficient as fire, but it's kind of cool. So, actually, let's have a look. Which one actually is better? Fire bite, 6 points of damage versus 7 points of damage. Cost 9, cost 7. Fire might actually be marginally better in terms of efficiency, but I'm going to stick with lightning for now just because I like it. Inefficient or not? Oh! That seems bad. I'm out of mana. Maybe should have used the fire. There we go. I should probably be sneaking through these areas. That way I'm not going to get caught up and murderized. So what was I talking about anymore? I don't even recall. I remember talking about the Colosseum and how people would harvest it for bricks. Oh, and the Great Wall, how it too was also something. But also because, yeah, parts of it were built over the desert, very unsafe foundations, but they just had to get something up to stop the Mongols. And it worked for a while. The problem is, of course, it was, you know, a wall is only good if you have people manning it. If there's no one to actually man the wall, then people will climb it, or they'll punch a hole in, or whatever. You need people actually to protect the wall, or a wall is useless. A wall is only in addition to any defences. You have to add it to existing defences. And I can't remember which dynasty it was at the time, couldn't afford to maintain the soldiers on the wall, so eventually they couldn't man the wall anymore. And the unmanned sections of the wall, the Mongols came in, punched the hole through, and then invaded China and actually conquered China successfully and established a new dynasty. Like that. I won't take these because that's just clutter. And they were rulers of China for a while. And then they tried to invade Japan from China using sort of Chinese soldiers. Oh! Get distracted talking about history there. They used a lot of Chinese soldiers, sort of forced conscripted labourers and forced conscripted soldiers. So they weren't, as you can imagine, particularly keen on work for the Mongols, but they were fairly terrified of them for pretty good reasons. To be honest, I'd be pretty scared of the Mongols too if they were around today. Some of which, by the way, is in that new computer game Ghost of Tsushima, I think it's how it's pronounced. Or Titchinagi or whatever, I don't know how it's pronounced. But I should stop. Yeah, I should start using these pumpkin so I can heal out of combat. And the actual Mongol invasion of Japan was not entirely successful. I mean, the Mongols were really extremely good soldiers, and very, very effective combatants. And they really did absolutely hammer the Japanese when they got onto their land. The problem is, I mean, the major issue they had was that they were unable to deal with the sea conditions and the weather that happened off the Japanese coast. I mean, there were terrible storms that were very, very common in that area. And the Mongols' fleet got sunk when they were trying to do a bit of a re-maneuver. Happened twice. Twice their fleets got sunk, and so their armies failed to invade Japan as a result. But the one landing they did have was extremely successful. I mean, had it not been for the weather, had it not been for them pulling back and reattempting, they may have actually conquered Japan as well. The Japanese are very lucky to have got out of that one, because not by the Mongols, not a great thing to happen. If you ask Chinese historians, they'll tell you all the sort of unpleasantness of that. I've actually heard, and I don't know if this is true, I've actually heard from a Chinese person that they're told that the Mongols were actually at one point considering killing all of the Chinese so they could use their land as grazing. The thing is, if you'd said that about anyone else, I'd have been like, no, that's just one of those stories people tell of an enemy in war. But the Mongols are the kind of people who might have done something like that, because they did like killing quite a lot. So, very interesting history. And one of the reasons their army were quite so strong was the Mongols were... I'm just rambling on about the Mongols now, but whatever, I've started, so this will keep going. But, yes, interesting. They were quite meritorious. They had a sort of meritocracy in their hiring. Like, they'd have a general. If the general wasn't very good, they'd replace him. They didn't care about if you were nobly born or not. They only cared if you had the ability, you could rise very quickly in their ranks. So their army was full of sort of elite veterans. What purpose does this room serve? I mean, you've got this sort of altar here that light beams down on. You've got chairs around it, sort of judgment thrones and big dangling balls. Kind of reminds me of Babylon 5, actually. There's a bit in Babylon 5 where they have the star wheel will judge you, and you get exposed to like the light of some sort of really, really hot sun, and it melts people, and the longer they can stay in the fire, the more righteous their causes. And yes, I don't know what purpose it serves here though. Maybe it's the same thing? Oh, I have a feeling there's bodies. I feel like I haven't searched this room before. Hang on. Must be loot in here, come on. You don't have a big, fancy room with enormous pendulous balls without some sort of loot in here. Surely not. That cannot be the case. Come on, designers of Enderal. This is where I came from. Wow, you've actually made me a room with no cool snazzy loot in it. Well, fine. If that's how you want to be, I guess that's how you want to be. Fine. I'll just move on to the next area. Anything hidden at the top of this pillar? No? Okay. Mushrooms. It's a whole lot of fun. Hallucination some. And of course we're going to slowly go insane. It's what we call a gate. It's a way that you can't go back this way. In games, they often put them in place to control the flow of gameplay. Awful lot of keys in here, so I presume this must be where they made their keys. Makes sense. Some oil on the floor there. Some salt, and I've had plenty of that today once I lost the audio recording for the previous session. Oh, there was salt there. You'd better bet there was oceans of salt. Just literally oceans of it. Imagine the sea without any of the water in it. Nah, it wasn't that bad. I was just like, well, chalk that up to a learning experience. Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! And owned. Now, I knew I'll be back and recorded soon enough. Luckily, you have this little push forward. If I just keep doing this, it'll go faster. Maybe I should watch where I'm going rather than faffing about. Unlimited power! You know, that joke's going to get old real soon. So you know what? I can avoid making that joke by giving fire a go. Yes. Besides, it's nice to mix things up occasionally. It's kind of a very spooky spider and pasta. And these spiders are quite big. I guess they're surviving off eating rats. I mean, they have to be. I mean, what else is in here? Nothing. Fireball! It's a whole lot of fun. Oh, and there was oil on that floor. Perfect. That was a perfect time to switch over. Nice. Okay. Loot in this room. Loot in this room. I'm sure there's loot in this room. I remember there being loot in this room. Where's... more loot. There must be more loot. Old gear, I don't think that's useful. Fireball, chain lightning, nice. Okay. Light up the dark areas. I guess a little bit, not much. Whoa! Nice try! That is what we call roasty toasty. And you too, sir. Oh, they're sniping me from just outside my range. Oh! Well. Well, good sir. That is very rude, but unfortunate for you. I picked up these little scrolls of fireball. Like that. You know what? That one too. And I have... wrong one. Ooh. Lightning bolt. Boom! And get shreked. Oh yeah. Somebody wants... No, I'm not just listening. You don't have to suddenly switch off the video. If you're still watching at this point, and if you are, give yourself a pat on the back and leave a comment to say that you've got to this point of the video. And I'll be very happy. Iron battle axe. More skill books. Empty chest. Any more loot around here? I did kind of cause a bit of an explosion. Let's get these two setups. Oh, a horrible spiky death pit. Probably not a good idea to go down there and search for loot. I'll leave that. What am I doing? It's loot. What am I doing? It's loot. I can sell it at the nearest town. No! No! Let me back! Let me back! No! Oh. Whew. Oh, I've gone nuts. Can't pass up on some loot. Nothing that way. Can I go this way? Something hidden behind the waterfall. Oh. This is obviously one of those Skyrim caves where you go around and it comes out in a big loop so that you know that you've finished the adventure. Some people don't like it as a design, but no, it's okay. Is it a little lazy? Maybe, but it's kind of fun to just meander through these sort of caves and, you know, see where they happen to lead. No. For a second, I was playing Underworld Ascended a few days ago. It crashes a lot, unfortunately. At least on my system, it's fairly stable. So I was like, well, it's wood. I can burn it! Because that game's got some great fun little things they do with their physics. And fortunately, it's not the most stable game, but it's nice to be able to, you know, wood all burns. Use the environment, build platforms out of boxes or whatever you find when the physics engine decides to behave itself. So, I mean, it was on sale when I got it, but if it comes back on sale and it's cheap enough, it's worth giving a little try just to play around in the physics sandbox that it is. Don't know that I'd pay full price given that it's kind of unstable, doesn't quite work the way it's supposed to. But other than that's pretty cool. But it's nice that games like that get made, you know, because you don't really get that kind of experience elsewhere. So even if it's not great, even if it's not that well put together, it's nice that it exists. Backpack. Increases carrying capacity by 15. Nice! Leather shield. Iron helmet. Right, well. That is some pretty good stuff. Leather shield. That means only casting spells with one hand. I'm not sure I'm in favour of that. Ooh. Well, we'll see. I mean, I guess if I have to use a melee weapon, it'd be nice to be able to block stuff. But for the moment... Oh, ooh. We could mix it up. Half lightning, half fire. Yeah, we'll go for that one. Just for a little change. As good as a rest, I'm told. Unless you're really tired, in which case it really isn't. Hard fights require tactics. Ha! We'll see about that, won't we? Tactics, I'll use... What's that? Tactics, I'll use no tactics. Hello! Power! This is it. A whole lot of fun. Just shoot them with some. That cannot be all of them. Oh my goodness. Well, it turns out there is one more, isn't there? Here's something. Wonder what it is. Well, actually, I know what it is because I've played this section before, and I'll show you. They have a system in this game called Phantasma or something like that. Meditation is how you actually level up. You go into this sort of otherworldly realm. A bit like Fable 2 or Fable 3 that did this. And you can unlock abilities. What we want is Phantasmless Net of Souls. That will allow us to... the souls of the lost that are in the world. And you can collect them and make them into sort of summonable, modifiable, custom ghosts. Which is kind of cool. I mean, it's a really nice idea. I've not had a chance to play around with it very much. And I only got to a little bit further than this when I played before. So I can hear the spooky sounds around here. So is it coming from this? Let's stand here. Okay, it appears to be coming from over here. But of course I knew that. Saw a heavy leather cuirass. It might actually be pronounced cuirass. I don't know, no one's quite sure. Because, well, I'm sure somebody's got some pretty good ideas, but I don't know. So let's stick with the nice, with some very old bread. You're going to be killed by lightning. Where is you, my friend? Oh. Sure there was. What's that noise? Oh, whereas you get to be killed by fire! Delicious crab. Roasted crab. I don't know, can you roast a crab? I guess you could technically roast anything. The question is, does it taste good? Bit of a creak from the chair there. Mine. I won't bother to mine. Again, when I find a town and smelt it into ore. You know what? It never turns. I remember in Skyrim it wasn't really worth mining or an ore like that unless it was valuable. So I would skip iron, and then later on regret it. I'd only picked up an iron. Damn it! I have to go back now. No. What? That is some trippy sky. So it's night, but there's also some kind of. I guess there's two suns around this planet, and that one's further away. Don't interrupt me. I'm sure. I don't know what that was. It's pretty cool looking. It's a very nice little image. A little skybox or whatever it is. It's very nice. Good job, guys. I approve. Dead guy. And a potion. Some pennies. Nice. Obviously, that is where they want me to go, to this. I don't know what it is, some sort of temple or something. But let's go this way. Because I know there's going to be some loot in this corner. Otherwise, I mean, then again, maybe there's not. Why would they give you a corner with no loot? Well, they may have just given you a corner and they're not bothered to put any loot in it. You know, they designed the area and they didn't care about that particular aspect. Let's find it. Ooh, an undead. Yes. Perish before the might of lightning, fireman. What were you hiding over here? Skelly bones? Ooh, a suspicious soil mound? And what is that I see behind my character? Crafting book. This is actually how you learn that. Flute and skull. I will leave you your skull and make it. I'm taking. Ooh, a lovely ice claw. Character's addicted to them. He just can't get enough. If he doesn't get his regular ice claw every day, he just loses it. He's jonesing. In fact, he's jonesing for one right now to boost that carry weight. Although I do have a horrible feeling that if I'm going to have to taste all of these just to make sure I get the first. Not. Damn. Waste that. Sheer cat. Salt. The character's never tasted salt before. Or crab. What was I even doing? Why did I got distracted? Ah, yes. The delicious, delicious ice cap. Ice cream. Mmm. That would a bit of bread. Amazing. Boost. My health is dropping very quickly from all that rubbish I ate. Oh, eat a pumpkin. That'll cure me. I'll have a cheap health potion. I've now got arcane fever. It's okay having arcane fever. Better to have some arcane fever than to be dead. I do quite like the idea of using this arcane fever because what it does is whenever you use a healing spell or anything, it just balances it. Because I remember in Skyrim you'd be getting into a really hard battle and you think, oh, I'm losing, what do I do? And they just tank like hundreds of healing potions. Although I have a feeling, just like in Skyrim, you're going to end up with loads of completely useless potions of like, resist frost and 2% buff to your stamina regeneration. All this stuff that you pick up thinking, oh, maybe I'll, you know, eventually need it. I hear something. A little glingle, glingle, glingle. Is it the sock collector? You won't get that reference. It's from Terry Pratchett, the late great Terry Pratchett. He had there was a character. You know, there was it was in the Hogfather. Every time people there was a lot of loose belief going around. It's the Hogfather, who's like their version of Santa Claus, the foresight of reality. And so whenever anyone mentioned any sort of fictional character, there'd be a glingle, glingle, glingle. And they suddenly pop into existence. The sock collector is, or the sock eater is this thing that lives inside your tumble dryer and eats loose socks. So it's a very interesting idea. Oh, there are NPCs here. Well, you know what? I'll stop this video right here, and in the next part, we'll continue and we'll talk to these fellows and see what they're doing. Alright, and for now, I bid you adieu. Ooh,